Jaya Gurudev, Srila Gurudev, Jaya Gurudev, Srila Gurudev. Jaya Vishnupat Paramahansa Parivajakacharya Ashtodasa Srimad Srila Abhayacharya Arvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrind ki Jai, Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Putale Srimati Jaya Pataka Swami Nityanamane Namo Jara Padaya Nataka Padaya Gaura Nagara Gram Tarine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Putale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gopavani Pachani Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachani Shutavine Jai. So, we'll be reading from Canto 3 of Srimad Bhagavatam, text number 19, continuing the journey of Vidura. So, text 19, we'll all do Mangal Charan first. No, not holding. Okay. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vangsha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayat Bhagavati Uttamashloke Bhakte Bhavati Naishtiki Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Jai. Gam prayatan medhya vivikta vritti sada plutodha sayano vadhuta alakshita sver avadhuta vesho Vratani chere haritoshanani Gam paryatan medya vivikta vritti Sada plutodha shayano vadhuta Alakshita sweravadhuta vesho Vratani chere haritoshanani Gam paryatan medya vivikta vritti Sada plutodha shayano vadhuta Alakshita swer avadhuta vesho Vratani chere haritoshanani. Nice shloka. Word for word. Gam, earth. Prayatan, traversing. Medhya, pure. Vivikta vritti, independent occupation for living. Sada, always. Apluta, sanctified. Adaha, on the earth. Shayanaha, lying. Avadhuta, without dressing of the hair, etc. Alakshita, without being seen. Sway, alone. Avadhuta veshaha, dressed like a mendicant. Pratani, vows. Chere, performed. Haritoshanani, that pleased the Lord. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Narvin Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. While so traversing the earth, he simply performed duties to please the Supreme Lord Hari. His occupation was pure and independent. He was constantly sanctified by taking his bath in holy places. Although he was in the dress of a mendicant and had no hair dressings, nor a bed on which to lie. Thus, he was always unseen by his various relatives. Purport. The first and foremost duty of a pilgrim is to satisfy the Supreme Lord Hari. While traveling as a pilgrim, one should not be worried about pleasing society. There is no need to depend on social formalities or occupations or dress. One should remain always absorbed in the function of pleasing the Lord. Thus sanctified by thought and action, one is able to realize the Supreme Lord by the process of a pilgrim's journey. Jai. It's a very nice presentation here of how Vidura is traveling and he is immersing himself in Haritoshanani. Haritoshanani means to please the Lord. Right? Tushta. Tushta means to please. Right? So to be pleased. Like chane rushta, chane tushta, rushta tushta, chane chane. So here we see a devotee likes to do Haritoshanani. A devotee likes to please the Lord. Usually we will see that the demons, we like to make Krishna angry. So they look for Rushtatani. They want to make Krishna angry. And the idea of generating Krishna's anger is to flare him up, and hopefully the desire being in that anger Krishna will slip. We will see Shishupala. He becomes the amplification of this idea that one can try to anger the Lord. During the Rajasuya sacrifice, when Krishna is chosen as the one to take the first offering, because in a yagya, as the yagya is conducted, the question was arisen, who was the best person to take the first offering? And after a lot of deliberation, it was agreed that Krishna is the most advanced and the most pious amongst everyone there. And remember, for Rajasuya sacrifice, the demigods were also invited. Brahma was there, Indra was there. So all personalities existed. But it was Krishna that was chosen as the most ideal person. And it is actually funny that sometimes, in the conversations, when you have general conversations about Krishna, you will see, sometimes a Hindu may say, oh, Krishna, he was very devious, he was very crooked. But what they're not able to see is when we look at Mahabharata, we see Krishna in the yajna performed in Mahabharata. He is chosen as the topmost, most qualified person. But then again, we may see sometimes in general conversations, they say, oh, Krishna, he was very devious. But Krishna isn't devious, he's very pure. So anyway, Krishna is put in, on the throne of this sacrifice. And then when Krishna is put on the throne of the sacrifice, it is understood that he is the most perfect being to be offered the Rajasuya, the Rajasuya offerings. At this point, Shishupal, he gets angry. And Shishupal goes ahead and he tries to insult Krishna in the hope that he can generate Krishna's anger. So here we are talking Hari Toshanani. Hari Toshanani means pleasing the Lord. But we see in various parts that the demons, they try to anger the Lord. Right? And in angering the Lord, they will tend to anger the devotees. Right? In trying to make Lord Krishna angry, the devotee is made angry. Right? So Vidura is a devotee. And Vidura, if we remember in the previous shlokas, he gives very sane advice to Duryodhan and to Dhritarashtra to say that please return the kingdom that belongs to the Pandavas. Right? This is the sane advice that Vidura is giving. However, Vidura is insulted. And it is told that you always side with the Pandavas. So actually, Duryodhan is saying that in the form of an insult, that, oh, you're a dog, you're eating food, and you're, barking for someone else. So this is Duryodhan's point. But actually, this is actually very pleasing to the devotee, that yes, I am supporting the devotees. Like, that is not actually, that is not considered a blotch in one's nature. That is actually glory. And the reason why I bring this out is sometimes as devotees, when you are managing the temple or when you are taking part in an activity, you may sometimes hear somebody criticizing a devotee. It's critical. What is he doing? He doesn't know anything. Simple criticism. But the idea here being that one should always side with the devotee. Now one may consider, well, devotee is criticizing a devotee. So how do I side with the devotee? Right? One devotee is criticizing another devotee. How do I side with the devotee? At this point, it is to be understood that when someone is criticizing, at that point, he is not behaving like a devotee. So therefore, you must side with the devotee. Means the one who is being criticized. Now, of course, that other person, devotee may also get flared up and then criticize this devotee. At that point, he is not behaving like a devotee and he is. And so this fine nature, to observe this, it requires some skill. That, okay, devotee is criticizing another devotee. No, actually, devotee is trying to do something good. And at the same time, another devotee may be doing something. Then you may be saying, no, but that devotee is also doing something good. And so this idea is that one should try to remove the criticism and in fact look, okay, one devotee has a point, another devotee has a point. And with this, a devotee can live a good life. So Vidura was being criticized for participating with the Pandavas. And of course the criticism is justified. We see many times across the story of Mahabharata that Vidura always played a thorn in the side of the Kauravas' plans. He was always a thorn because he always sided with the devotees. And so that criticism, when it's taken, Vidura is thinking, I'm being criticized for participating with the devotees. So now time has come to give up the association of the non-devotees and fully immerse with the devotees. So this is Vidura's journey. So Vidura's journey currently is, he's associating with non-devotees, but his heart is associating with devotees. Right? So that external association is with non-devotees, internal association is with devotees. So now what Vidura is doing, he's giving up the external association. And he is now even externally, he wants to associate with devotees. So this is Vidura's journey, his sojourn as Srila Prabhupada writes, the pilgrim's journey. Oh, how beautiful that word. Pilgrim's journey, the title of a book. The pilgrim's journey, the Srila Prabhupada's words in the purport, right? So beautiful. So the pilgrim's journey is Gam prayatan medhya vivikta vritti. That Gam, the earth, he is traversing the earth. Medhya viviktri. He is pure and he is independent occupation for living. So the idea here is that his occupation has now become independent and it has become pure. So here's interesting, isn't it? One can purify one's occupation. How amazing is that? Now, of course, when we talk about when we are talking about Vidura's journey, we're not talking about the standard, Varna and Ashrama. Varna and Ashrama has occupation, and the idea is that by offering the results to Krishna, there is some level of purification. Some level of purification, but it can never be completely pure. The only point an occupation becomes pure is when one becomes fully dedicated to Krishna consciousness. Then, when one is dedicated to Krishna consciousness, all his activities naturally become purified. So, the usual process in the gradation of one's dealing in the material world, you will have karma kandi, karma yogi, jnana yogi, dhyana yogi. Then at some point you get a bhakti yogi, right? So the gradation. The idea here is to say that when we are saying here medhya vivikta vritti, the idea is that his occupation is not purified because he is only interested in associating with Krishna. Now whatever he does is purified. Although now when he is seen, he looks very dirty. You see, he was in a position where he is very clean. Vidura was a minister, right? So a prime minister, not just a minister, a prime minister, right? We have prime ministers today, right? Scott Morrison, that's what they call him, ScoMo. So ScoMo, and we have, another prime minister, Boris Johnson. So they are big people. Right, so they are, well dressed, in a qualified state. But at that point, Vidura was not purified in his, material dealings, because he was still dealing with non-devotees. In this situation, he is seemingly in a dirty state. Right, his state is dirty, and we're going to come to that shloka where they're talking about his dirty state. He's in a dirty state, but he's pure. So this conflation or this contradiction is always interesting to see in the material and spiritual cycle, and it is that's why it is explained that someone who is in the mode of transcendental goodness and someone who's in the mode of ignorance, it is hard to distinguish the two. It is actually hard, because you may see a person who's in transcendental goodness be in a dirty state, and of course you see the person in the mode of ignorance be in a dirty state. Nowadays we are working from home. I'm working from home. So I have become very lazy in terms of cleanliness. Very lazy, like extremely lazy. Sometimes I'll take shower at 9 o'clock, sometimes at 10 o'clock, because our office meetings are starting at 8:30. So I'm not able to organize my morning time. Because when you lose the need that you have to go to office at this time, you become lazy. So you can see that dirtiness is there. Now one may think, oh, such a transcendental devotee, he doesn't care about his external behaviors. No, that is mode of ignorance. The fact that I am purposefully not being clean is mode of ignorance. Transcendental goodness is because the person is being cleansed by Krishna Katha, by the devotional process. He doesn't care about the external cleanliness. See, both are, you could say, similar. Both don't care about their external cleanliness, but one is in ignorance and one is in transcendental goodness. So here, Vidura's state of transcendental goodness is being brought out, Shuddha Sattva. So, this Shuddha Sattva, like Sridhar Maharaj and Jiva Goswami points this out in Tattva Sandarbha, that Sridhar Swami is calling Bhagavatam as Vastava Vastu. That means that the actual factual reality is being explained in Bhagavatam. And so this is the actual factual reality. that if one is dedicated to Krishna consciousness, then the external cleanliness has no matter. Right? Now of course one may consider, okay, but what about if one has to do deity worship? Yes, if one is doing deity worship, that's a different state. And so we are also going to describe that in the shloka, that Sada Pluto Dha Shayano Vadhuta. That Vidura, what he was doing was, he was constantly sanctifying himself by bathing in the river. So when we use the term dirty, right, when the term dirty is being used, it doesn't mean that he is, he's not cleaning himself. Dirty simply means that from a social standard, he may not be up to the mark. Like he may not be up to the mark from a social standard. However, he is actually cleaning himself. So here it is saying that he is sanctifying himself when he is coming near a holy river. He is showering himself. However, he is not dressing his hair. Alakshater swer avadhuta vesho. That the dress that he is wearing is that of an avadhuta, of a mendicant. Right? And because he has a dress of a mendicant, he is not worried about how his hair looks, he is not worried about how his body looks, and most importantly, he is traveling alone. Usually when someone tries to take an avadhuta vesha, they want people to notice. Right? See, Prabhu, I'm an avadhut. But here there is a key word, sway. Sway means alone. Right? So when Vidura, he has taken this state, he is actually alone. He is by himself. Right? He is sleeping on the floor. He is traveling quietly. He is bathing in the holy rivers. And he is keeping a very poor state of physical appearance. And it is interesting that the last line, Vratani Chere Haritoshanani, that he has taken this vow so he can please Krishna. Now one may consider, why is it that this pleases Krishna, this seemingly pauper state? Why does it please Krishna? Right? We may be thinking, like, doesn't it please Krishna when I dress so nicely and come in front of the temple and fold our hands? So yes, it does please Krishna. When we see the gopis, when the gopis or the Vrajavasis, whenever they are getting ready to meet Krishna, they dress up. Right? You'll see in Gopal Champu, this is nicely explained, and even in Srimad Bhagavatam, whenever they would go to Krishna, they would dress very nicely, they would offer the best to Krishna. Right? So this is in Vrindavan, how the devotees are behaving. But here, we are seeing that this behavior of Vidura is Haritoshanani. It is pleasing Gopinath. It is pleasing Krishna. So why? Why is this state of seeming, seeming, I won't use the word dirty. I would rather say that this is a seemingly impoverished. That's a good, thank you, I like the word. Impoverished state. That's a nice word. This seemingly impoverished state, why is it pleasing Krishna? And so we have to see this difference and wonder why. Because usually when we dress up and we come here to the temple, it is because we want to look nice. Oh, I'm dressing up. Oh, I'm on Mayapur TV and you're going to look at me. I should dress properly. You see? What is the rationale for dressing properly? The rationale for dressing properly is that I should be presentable. Right? So the focus is on me. Now, by this behavior of what Vidura is doing, he is taking away that need for pleasing himself. Right now I'm pleasing myself by dressing nicely. So Vidura is taking away that principle that, no, I should not think about my pleasure. Right? Now when we switch over to Vrindavan, when the devotees are dressing up for Krishna, they are dressing up purely to satisfy Krishna. Oh, we have to dress nicely because Krishna will like it. You see? So their focus has completely changed. And for Krishna, they may even become undressed. And we'll see this in Bhagavatam. There will be a place where Krishna is stealing the garments of the gopis. So, because the gopis are topmost devotees, you may see this principle come out. That for Krishna's pleasure, they will even do that. It's not like Krishna wants that. So that's the first point. It's not like Krishna wants that. But to show that for Krishna's pleasure, they don't mind being undressed. So that is the point that is focused when we talk about the Brajabasis and how they deal, and us as normal people when we deal in the material world. So our sense of dressing up and our sense of cleanliness is for our pleasure. Whereas the devotees of Vrindavan, their sense of cleanliness and their sense of being well dressed is for Krishna's pleasure. So that beauty is to be understood. That variance is to be understood. So that is why you'll see the word Vratani Chere Haritoshanani. That this vow that Vidura has taken, that let me stay unclean. Right? Sorry, impoverished. That's a better word. Let me stay impoverished. Because by staying impoverished, I will take away any pleasure that I have. And then instead, I will make Krishna happy. So that is a very important aspect to pick up from here. The more valuable thing that we have to pick up is when we look at Vidura's state from a material view. When we look at it from a material view, right? Vidura was always in a contradictory state, or in a, maybe I shouldn't use the word contradictory, in a state of unease. He was always in an uneasy state. He was working for the Kauravas, but trying to make sure that things work in a spiritual manner. Right? So he was trying to apply spiritual governance in a place that was materially minded. So that was Vidura's turmoil, his unease. Now he has come into the spiritual cycle. Right? So that was his material cycle, like in his life cycle, that was where he was materially engaged. Now he has come in a spiritual cycle. He is still in an uneasy position. He is completely impoverished, doesn't have much for himself. Right? He doesn't have that. Nonetheless, so the idea being is that if someone has to struggle, whether he is in a material state or a spiritual state, that struggle will not go away. And this, as a devotee, is important for us to understand. Sometimes, many times, if I'm going through some turmoil, I will think that, okay, maybe Krishna will come and save me. Like in the mind, isn't it? Krishna, you saved Prahlad. Krishna, you saved this devotee. Krishna, you saved you saved the devotees from the forest fire. Like you completely swallowed the forest fire. Krishna, you're a savior. Save me. Right? Usually the mind will think like that. Krishna, you come and save me. But the idea here being is that irrespective of our spiritual state, if we have to go through struggle, we will go through struggle. It's not like that now I am becoming a devotee, my struggles will go away. No, struggles will stay. And the idea here is that because we have to accept the fact that the material world is a struggle, we have to start seeing that getting pleasure for oneself is not possible in the material world. That is why we may think why Krishna doesn't intervene. We'll see, okay, Lord Shiva intervenes, Brahma intervenes. We see that story of Lord Shiva when Bhasmasura, when Shakuni's son, Bhasmasura, when he's about to cut his head and offer it in fire, then Shiva comes, okay, stop. Stop, don't offer your head. So, at the real, it's quite a crazy thing to do, right? To offer your body parts to the fire, and finally he's about to chop his head off. He's like, okay, all right, what do you want? So, the demigods, they will bend over and say, no, let's make your material state better. Krishna doesn't bend over there. That is why in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that, I am equipoised when it comes to dealings with the material world. Equipoised. However, in the spiritual dealings, Krishna is very biased. Right? So, I was telling some devotees in the Bhakti Vriksh that if a devotee was to take $10,000 into the casino and put it on the red marker in the Russian in the roulette table and say, I'll put it on red, $1 million on red, then the chances of him winning are equal to the person who's eating beef standing next to him. The chances of winning are equal. Like, in fact, when I say chances of winning are equal, there is a higher chance that the house will win and you will lose. In that chance, it's equal. It's not like, oh, I'm a devotee chanting 16 rounds, so I should get the benefit. Krishna will give me the $1 million. No. When it comes to material dealings, Samadarshana, Krishna is equal. But when it comes to, spiritual dealing, Krishna says, Priya, I find the devotee very loving. This is Priti Lakshana, right? So that Krishna finds these Lakshanas very, very nice. He really likes these behaviors. So this understanding needs to settle down on us as devotees, especially for those who are working in the material world. If you're working in the material world and you're dealing with it, we are going to go through struggles. Krishna, just the idea that, okay, now I'm Krishna conscious, the struggle will not be there. No, that's not the right attitude. The attitude here is, okay, I was struggling in the material world, might as well I struggle in the temple. If I have to struggle, right? Let me struggle in the temple. This is Vidura's realization. So Vidura's realization is, I am struggling. If I have to struggle, let me struggle in the spiritual world. When I say spiritual world, I mean spiritual association. I have to struggle anyway, right? So my situation is not going to change. So better I struggle in the spiritual circles. And what is his reward for this Hari Toshanani? For his giving pleasure to Hari, what is his reward? He gets to hear Bhagavatam. That is his reward. See, we have to see what is the reward that Vidura gets. Vidura's reward now is going to be that he will get to hear Bhagavatam. So that is interesting, isn't it? When we take our struggles of the spiritual, material world and say, okay, I'm struggling, I'll bring my struggles to the spiritual world, I will, try to please Krishna. The result of that is that one will get to have Bhagavatam. So Bhagavatam means what? Number one, Bhagavatam means one who is behaving like a devotee. So he meets Uddhava and Maitreya, both of them who are, devotees of Krishna, and both who got to hear first hand from Krishna. So if you can think about this, Vidura gets to hear second hand, right, from Krishna. Right, so it's like Krishna spoke to Uddhava and Maitreya, and then Vidura is the next in line. So you can say, oh wow, he almost has a similar position to Sanjaya in terms of hearing. Krishna speaks to Arjuna, then Sanjaya is listening to that as the first person through his Divya Chakshu. So you will see that Vidura and Sanjaya kind of have a similar state, right? And it's also interesting to see that both Sanjaya and Vidura, Sanjaya is the spiritual son of Vyasadeva, and Vidura obviously material son of Vyasadeva. So you'll see a lot of similarity. And this is another example within Bhagavatam where we will see a person seemingly of a lower birth. Like seemingly of a lower birth, like Sanjaya of a lower birth, Vidura of a lower birth, right? But them being given great prominence, right, within the discourse of devotional service. So it's 835. So this is a relatively simple shloka. I've tried to cover. And sorry, one aspect here is when we see how Vidura is dressed, we'll understand Krishna's sarva dharman parityajya. Give up all varieties of religion. So we will see Vidura is now enacting that principle. And because he is enacting the principle of sarva dharman parityajya, mam ekam sharanam vraja. So you'll see Vidura, he is taking this shloka and he's enacting it. Right? Aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha ishyami masocha. We'll see then Vidura, he will get moksha by getting association of pure devotees. So so it's very interesting. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But then, still, something happens to the world, like
yes.
It's still actually pretty material, right?
Yes, but if you see that Prahlad, let's look at Prahlad's journey, right? For us, we look at Prahlad's journey only from one point. The point where, Narasimhadev is sitting, ripping Hiranyakashipu, and Prahlad is standing with the garland. So whenever we think of Narasimhadev, we think of that picture. The Narasimha Leela, we think of that picture. Right? That is the picture. Because the reason why we look at that is the Bhakta Vatsalya picture. That is the picture where, we have it there as well in our altar. That is the Bhakta Vatsalya, Narasimhadev or Krishna protecting his devotee, Bhakta Vatsalya, right? However, when we look at the journey of Prahlad, Prahlad heard Bhagavatam for 100 years in the womb of his mother. For 100 years, every day he heard Bhagavatam class from Prahlad, from Narada. So Narada used to teach his mother. His mother used to go to sleep. Prahlad used to listen attentively. In the state of ignorance, when one is in the womb, it is considered a state of ignorance, right? The highest form of ignorance is considered a person in the womb, right? So in that state, Prahlad heard Bhagavatam for 100 years. Then, after hearing the Bhagavatam, he started preaching. Materna Krishna Parato Satova. He says so many shlokas, he says, right? Prahlad is teaching everybody that no, one should see Krishna, one should see. So first he is listening, Shravana, then Kirtana. Right? So he's doing Kirtan. Then he went through many tribulations. Right? So he was, probably it was like a year long of tribulations where his father tried to kill him. Through many methods. At that time, Krishna didn't show up. Now what happens is, the only time Krishna shows up is when someone is doubting the words of his devotees. Like, Prahlad is, his father is asking him, you're Krishna, he's in this column? He says, yes, Krishna is everywhere. So yes, definitely he's in that column. For sure, of course he is. Right? So, he puts the pill in pillar. Krishna says, so then Hiranyakashipu is, what nonsense is this child speaking? And is that cracking open the walnut? Like, someone tells you that inside this walnut is a sweet walnut. Then the only way to find out is to crack the walnut. Because looking at the walnut externally, you cannot do it. You cannot taste the walnut. You have to crack the walnut. Once you crack the walnut and you remove it, then you taste it. Yes, this is sweet. So what happens is here, Hiranyakashipu, he has also reached the epitome of his chanting. You see, everyone has reached the epitome. Prahlad has reached the epitome of his devotional service, and Hiranyakashipu has reached the epitome of his chanting. Vishnu, 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 Vishnu. He's been chanting a lot. And then when he cracks the walnut, out comes Narasimhadev. So for both of them, it becomes a crescendo of their journey, and Narasimhadev shows up at the crescendo. Now for us, we want the crescendo to be right now, right? Oh, you shouted at me, Narasimhadev, protect me. And it's not going to there's a big journey. There's a big journey. And then when the journey culminates, then you are right, eventually Krishna will come. It's not like Krishna is not going to come. Yeah, of course he's going to come. But the journey here is for us to see Krishna in everything, that Krishna is here. You see, what is it that people like Sudhama, or in this case Vidura, what are they realizing? That okay, I am here in the struggle, but Krishna is everywhere. So what is this struggle? This struggle doesn't have value. You see, Sudama, you'll see, notice similar structure in Sudama, that Sudama struggled so much in his life, but he saw Krishna everywhere, that finally his wife asks him, why don't you just go see Krishna? He's like, okay. And then he goes to Dwaraka and he actually sees Krishna. You see? The journey, you'll see this type of journey very interesting in all of the devotees' life. You see Parikshit. Parikshit sees Krishna in the beginning of his birth, then doesn't see Krishna after that, and then finds Krishna at the end of his life. The beginning and end. Right? You will see Prahlad get the same thing. Prahlad gets Narad Muni, he gets a lot of Krishna Katha. Then 5 years only. For 5 years he was a bit away. For 5 years then he's struggling with all the people around him. But he is remembering that association, he's remembering Krishna. Finally he gets to meet Krishna in the end. After his 5 years. And then of course he stays to rule. But the idea is that you will see this construct. You may get Krishna in the beginning, then there is the struggle, and then you will get Krishna in the end. And then once we get that second stage of Krishna, then one becomes satisfied. So we will notice, I am not satisfied yet. Yes, because you have seen Krishna only first time. Your first journey. Now you need to have your journey. Then when you meet Krishna the second time, now you're satisfied. Now you will not leave. So, but for between the first journey and the second journey, one can leave. But eventually when one meets Krishna the second time, then after the second time one will not leave. And you will notice this amongst devotees' life. Then you became a devotee, then you may go away. And you may go away for a long time. Then now when the second time you meet Krishna, from second time onwards you will not leave. And so that aspect you will fracturally see this in the dealings. And so when we see stories of Vidura and all, we appreciate these points. That somebody may not, may have been a devotee, may have done something wrong, may go away. At some point he will meet Krishna again. And then from that point onwards, he will become very sturdy. Like, Dhiravan and Viryavan, he will become very steady. So yeah, that's a good point.
And also like in Krishna, if he helps materially, they still, it's only the devotee needs that first.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's true. No, you are correct. Remember, whenever we ask Krishna, we never ask for need. You are absolutely correct. Krishna takes care of the need. That very good point you make. But we never ask Krishna for a need, right? I don't have a need for $1 million, but Krishna, if you can give it. So we never ask Krishna for our need. Why? Because the need has been provided. Like you said, prasadam is given. Like if somebody has a struggle, come to the temple, you'll get prasadam. It is there, right? But we want more than our need. Sometimes you may see, devotees saying, "Oh, Prabhu, I wish you had made some puris." Okay, I agree, but you got khichdi, eat khichdi. What is there to complain about prasadam? Right? So, no, but you could have got this. That's true. No denying that. No one is denying that. But you have got from Krishna. The need is achieved. Then desire comes in. So yes, you are absolutely correct. The desire is hard to deal with. Yeah. Jai. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari. Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.